If you need others to validate your peace, then maybe you've never truly known real peace. Evolution doesn't happen with shouting. It happens in silence. At the moment you decide to walk away, not out of anger, but out of clarity. Most people don't evolve because they're attached to what destroys them, because they feel guilty for freeing themselves from what suffocates them, because they fear loneliness more than they fear stagnation. But there are things that, if not quietly cut away, will slowly kill you, not physically, but spiritually, intellectually, emotionally. Epictetus said, "The key to freedom is to discard what is unnecessary." You don't need to justify your peace. You don't need to explain your absence, much less apologize for prioritizing your growth. Today, we're going to talk about what needs to be eliminated from your life, with firmness, with maturity, and without making a fuss, because some decisions don't need to be announced. They just need to be made. Most will never have the courage to cut ties, but you are not most people. You're here because you're ready to eliminate what's holding you back from growing.
In Stoic philosophy, true evolution doesn't come from conquest, it comes from renunciation. Renouncing what weighs you down, what distracts you, what paralyzes you. The Stoics didn't seek comfort, they sought clarity. They didn't fight to accumulate, but to eliminate the unnecessary. Because they knew, the lighter a person becomes, the farther they can go. In this video, you'll discover 9 silent elements that might be sabotaging your journey. Things you carry out of habit, fear, or conditioning, but that need to be removed without warning, without applause, and without hesitation. This isn't an ordinary list. It's not about organization. It's about Stoic liberation. Be brutally honest with yourself. Face each item with courage. And when you feel like this describes me, don't blame yourself. Just eliminate it. Because growth hurts. But staying trapped by what drags you down hurts so much more.
1. Eliminate in silence the need to please everyone. You weren't made to please others. You were made to live with purpose. But from an early age, you were taught that being accepted is more important than being free. That being liked by everyone is more valuable than being true to yourself. So you learn to smile when you don't want to smile, to agree when everything inside you screams no, to follow other people's paths just to be included. But there's a price, and that price is too high. You lose yourself. Epictetus said, "If you want to be loved, prepare to live the way others want." But a true Stoic doesn't live to be loved. He lives to be integral, to be whole and true. He knows that trying to please everyone is a losing game, because the world changes its mind all the time, and those who live by others' opinions live in constant anxiety. The need to please comes from fear, fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of loneliness. But what you haven't realized yet is that the greatest abandonment is self-abandonment. You try to please everyone, and in the process, disappoint the one person who truly matters, yourself. Eliminating this need doesn't mean turning your back on the world. It means finally turning inward, facing your own truths, making decisions based on principles, not applause. This requires silence, because when you stop pleasing others, many will get upset. But that's a sign you're aligning yourself. Stoicism teaches the only approval you need is your own conscience. You don't need to announce it to anyone. Just start saying no without guilt, leaving groups where you don't belong, walking away from conversations where your soul doesn't fit. No anger, no speeches, no explanations. Because true growth doesn't shout. It just eliminates in silence.
2. Eliminate in silence the habit of complaining about life. Complaining is a poison taken in small doses every day. At first, it seems harmless. A vent here, an outrage there. But over time, you become a slave to your own dissatisfaction. Complaining changes nothing. It only drains your energy, eats away at your peace, and traps you in a cycle of helplessness. You feel good for a few seconds, but then everything comes back worse. The problem remains, and now you're even more exhausted. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't waste time arguing about how a good man should be one." The Stoic doesn't complain, he acts, because he knows every complaint is a way to escape responsibility. Complaining about the government, the weather, people, routine, all of that is useless noise, and noise weakens focus. You weren't made to be a spectator of your own life. You were made to take the helm even when the sea is rough. Complaining comes from the illusion of control over the uncontrollable, and Stoicism teaches exactly the opposite. Don't fight what's beyond your reach, transform what's within. Those who complain give their power away to the outside. Those who stay silent reclaim their inner control. But beware, eliminating this habit doesn't mean passively accepting everything. It means redirecting your energy, from noise to action, from victimhood to virtue, from "why is this happening to me?" to "what can I do about it?" Don't tell the world you're changing. Show it through your firm silence. Stop repeating that everything is bad and start building something good even with what little you have. Life responds with strength, but you don't need to respond with complaints. Respond with discipline, with serenity, with silent action. The Stoic doesn't complain. He stands up, takes a deep breath, and keeps going, because he knows the outside world is a reflection of the inner world.
3. Eliminate in silence attachment to others' opinions. The most subtle prison is the one with invisible bars but locked inside your mind. It's called other people's opinions. You want to do something different, but you ask yourself, what if they laugh at me? What if they think it's weird? What if I get judged? The fear of judgment paralyzes. But here's the liberating truth. No one is thinking about you as much as you imagine. Most people are too busy trying to hide their own insecurities. They criticize others just to distract from their own mediocrity. Seneca said, "He who constantly seeks the approval of others will never be free." And he was right, because when you live trying to fit in, you die a little every day. With every decision you make just to please, with every path you avoid out of fear of criticism. But others' opinions are not absolute truth. They reflect their own beliefs, pains, and limitations, not yours. You don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to justify yourself, much less shape yourself to fit into the box they created for you. The Stoic understands your inner life is more important than outer appearances. It's in silence that you rebuild your identity. It's when you stop asking for permission that you truly begin to live. Detaching from others' opinions is not arrogance, it's wisdom. It's understanding that those who truly love you don't demand fake versions of you. And those who do don't love you. They only want to control you. So eliminate it in silence. No fights, no speeches, no confrontations, just live.
and let your silent consistency say everything that needs to be said.
4. Eliminate in silence the constant comparison to others. Nothing weakens the spirit more than measuring yourself by someone else's standards. Constant comparison is like declaring every single day that your life isn't enough, that your progress is too slow, that you're falling behind, even though you don't really know where others are actually going. You see smiles on social media, achievements in the feed, perfect bodies, organized lives, but what you don't see are the behind the scenes, the hidden pain, the edited failures. Comparison is an illusion, and worse, it's a trap, because you start running a race that isn't yours. You lose your rhythm, lose your breath, lose your direction. Epictetus taught, don't worry about being better than others, worry about being better than yourself. And that's the core of it. The only valid comparison is with who you were yesterday. The Stoic doesn't live to defeat anyone. He lives to master himself, to cultivate inner excellence, not external appearance. Comparison destroys gratitude, and where there's no gratitude, there's no contentment. You could have everything and still feel miserable, simply because you're looking in the wrong direction. Want freedom? Eliminate comparison. In silence. Don't make it a statement. Just recognize your triggers and shut them down. Silence the need to prove something. Silence the urge to compete. Silence the desire to impress. You don't need to arrive where others have. You need to arrive where you were born to go. And that only happens when you look within, not to the side. Constant comparison is the thief of your peace, and peace is the foundation of growth.
5. Eliminate in silence the guilt of the past. You can't change what already happened, but you can stop the past from running your present. And to do that, you need to eliminate something corrosive, invisible, and paralyzing: guilt. Guilt is a weight you carry for mistakes already made, decisions already taken, words already spoken. It traps you in a time that no longer exists and blinds you to everything that can still be built. Seneca said, "To error is human, but to persist in error is foolish." And persistence in error isn't always about repeating the action. Sometimes it's about repeating the regret, replaying the pain, punishing yourself day after day, even after you've learned the lesson. But the Stoic doesn't live in the past. He looks back with clarity, extracts the lesson, and moves on. No drama, no attachment, no self-punishment. Carrying guilt doesn't make you more virtuous. It makes you slower, more vulnerable to self-sabotage, blinder to the opportunities the present is offering. You don't need to forgive yourself in front of the world. You don't need to shout that you've changed. Just change. Act with awareness. Make choices aligned with your values from this moment on. The past is not a sentence. It's a tool. It's meant to build wisdom, not destroy identity. Free yourself from guilt, in silence, without playing the victim, without trying to convince anyone. Just quiet the weight and turn the scar into strength. Because blaming yourself forever is like keeping a wound open that could have already healed, and no one evolves while bleeding inside.
6. Eliminate in silence the procrastination of change. Everyone wants to change,
But few are willing to pay the price of transformation. Because change demands discomfort, and the human mind, by nature, seeks refuge in the familiar, even if that refuge is a prison. You say you'll start tomorrow, that you'll cut ties, build new habits, make hard decisions, but tomorrow never comes. And before you realize it, months have passed, or years, or an entire lifetime. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You live as if you had infinite time, but time is the one thing that's running out." Procrastination is a silent thief. It steals your energy, your discipline, your self-confidence. Every time you delay a necessary change, you're telling yourself, "I'm not capable," and that becomes a belief. Procrastination isn't just a delay, it's self-abandonment in disguise. The Stoic understands, to act is nobler than to wish. He doesn't wait for the perfect moment. He creates the moment through conscious action. Want to change your life? Then change, now, silently, without making announcements, without building expectations. Just do it. Build the habit of deciding, and decide quickly before the anxious mind has time to interfere. Because every transformation starts with a small choice, but it takes the strength of 1,000 daily decisions to sustain it. You don't need a grand gesture. You don't need motivation from others. Just choose to leave inertia behind. Procrastination is a comfortable addiction, but action, even small, even silent, is the seed of transformation. Eliminate the delay, and everything around you will begin to move.
7. Eliminate in silence. Constant victimhood. As long as you see yourself as a victim of life, you become a slave to it. Yes, bad things happen to you. Injustices, losses, disappointments. But pain gives no one the right to remain small. Victimhood is deceptive. It offers temporary comfort. You receive empathy, attention, even some emotional relief. But inside, you're stuck. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor and a Stoic philosopher. He faced war, death, betrayal, and tragedy. And yet he wrote, "The obstacle in the path becomes the path." The Stoic does not deny pain, he simply refuses to surrender to it. Victimhood says, "Look what they did to me." Stoic awareness responds, "Look what I can do with this." There's a profound difference between feeling pain and living in pain, between recognizing trauma and turning it into your identity. You are not what hurt you. You are what you choose to do after the wound. Eliminating victimhood doesn't mean ignoring suffering. It means refusing to be defined by it. It means standing up each day and saying, "I am bigger than this." But you don't need to say it out loud. You don't need to post it, explain it, or announce it. True liberation is quiet. You just change, gradually, from the inside out. People will notice your strength, not by your shouting, but by the steadiness of your silence. Eliminate victimhood, and you'll discover that behind the pain, there's a human being capable of far more than they ever imagined.
8. Eliminate in silence the fear of failure. Are you afraid to fail? If the answer is yes, then understand this. You don't fear failure itself, you fear the judgment that comes with it. Failure isn't the real problem. It's what it represents to your ego. It's the belief that messing up means you're weak, not enough, or something to be ashamed of. But that belief is a mental prison.
and it needs to be destroyed, silently and urgently. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Failure is part of the path. It's inevitable. It's necessary. Every real breakthrough comes after a fall, because the ground teaches what the top never could. Fear of failure paralyzes you. You stop trying, stop taking risks, stop living. You wait for certainty before you act, but certainty never comes. The Stoic knows to act with courage doesn't mean acting without fear. It means acting in spite of it. And you don't need to tell anyone you're afraid. You don't need to expose your insecurities. Just take the next step. Even if your hands shake, even if your voice trembles, even without any guarantee of success. Because failure hurts, but stagnation kills. You might fall, you might mess up, but if you keep moving, quietly, with discipline and focus, you've already beaten your greatest enemy, the fear of trying. Eliminating that fear doesn't make you invincible, it makes you free. Free to fail, free to begin again, free to truly live. And that freedom begins in the quiet decision to move forward, even while afraid.
9. Eliminate in silence. Attachment to what no longer makes sense. Few things paralyze more than keeping something alive that's already dead on the inside. Empty relationships, goals that no longer move you, inherited beliefs that no longer represent who you are, routines that numb you, but you keep repeating anyway. You stay because you're afraid to change, because you're attached to the past, because you're loyal to an old version of yourself. Seneca once said, "Nothing is more foolish than holding on to what no longer serves you just because it once did." And that's exactly what many people do. They drag around expired stories. They maintain ties simply because it's always been this way. But the Stoic knows that time is sacred. And staying somewhere just because you're afraid to leave is the same as abandoning yourself. Here's the hard but freeing truth. Growth demands leaving behind what no longer makes sense. Attachment creates illusions. You pretend you still love, pretend you still believe, pretend it still matters. But deep down, it's already become a burden. Letting go isn't about rejection. It's about honoring what was and recognizing that it's over. It's about being grateful and moving on. Silently. You don't need to explain. You don't need to justify why you stepped away, why you changed, why you let go. Just move forward. With lightness, with maturity, with stoicism. Those who truly understand you won't need an explanation. Those who don't wouldn't accept one anyway. You weren't made to cling to the past. You were made to grow. And growth requires space. And space requires detachment. Eliminate what no longer makes sense, and you'll rediscover your peace.
In Stoic philosophy, true freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want. It comes from being free of what you no longer need to carry. Elimination isn't a sign of weakness, it's proof of inner strength. It takes courage to let go of what no longer serves you, especially when the entire world expects you to keep up appearances. When you quietly cut the roots that keep you tied to emotional dependency, comparison, guilt, anger, and the need to please, you begin to blossom in a way few people understand. Because most choose to live on the surface, reacting to everything, clinging to emotional addictions, and feeding stories that only serve to justify their suffering. But the Stoic doesn't live that way.
The Stoic lives in constant vigilance, not against others, but against himself, because he knows the greatest battlefield is the mind. By eliminating the excess, the noise, the invisible weights, you finally make room for what truly matters, peace. And peace, my friend, is the greatest achievement of all. It can't be bought, begged for, or demanded from others. Peace is earned when you begin to create silence where there was once noise, chaos, and self-sabotage. There's nothing more revolutionary than living lightly in a world that constantly tries to weigh you down. So let me ask you, which of these 9 things do you feel you most need to eliminate in silence today? Drop your answer in the comments. This simple reflection might just be the beginning of your freedom. In the silence of your journey, you begin to let go of the weights the world keeps trying to place on your shoulders. And the more you eliminate, the more space you create for what truly matters. But that no one sees. No one applauds. No one posts on their stories the moment they chose peace over revenge, or the moment they stayed silent when they could have won an argument. That's where true wisdom lives, in the invisible, in the untouchable, in the intangible things that hold up an entire life. Stoic philosophy never promised an easy path. It promises a steady one, disciplined, sober, and quietly victorious. Eliminating addictions, expectations, toxic people, and the endless search for approval is like sculpting a statue within yourself. You chip away everything that's excessive, everything that's a distraction, everything that blocks your true essence from being seen. And the most ironic part? The whole world is trying to add more followers, more likes, more status, while true power lies in removal, in quiet renunciation, in self-mastery, in the strength no one sees, but you feel every night when your head hits the pillow. To live stoically is to choose firmness over approval, to prefer clarity over distraction, to eliminate the noise so you can finally hear your own conscience. And if you've made it this far, something inside you already understands this truth. Now all that's left is to practice and to keep going, even if it's in silence.
If this video touched you in any way, don't leave in silence. Leave a comment with one word that represents what you've decided to eliminate from your life starting today. Like the video if it made you reflect. Share it with someone who needs this reminder. And if you want to continue this journey of wisdom and inner strength, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Here, every week, you'll find ideas that not only shift your thoughts, but transform your actions.